Good afternoon peeps, Liesl here, and today I'm going to show you how to make your very own Diddley Bow one string cigar box guitar. Are you excited? I hope so. I am, so straight in, here we go. Right, you're going to need a wooden box. I'm using this cigar box. You may not have cigar boxes just lying around, you can use any wooden box. Those little decorator boxes that you get from the Hobbycraft Centre, they're quite good, you know. They make a very nice sound, and I've used plenty of those and they do sound good. You could even use a very thick cardboard box. I've seen that done and they come out sounding quite well. But for today, because I did have this lying around, I'm just going to use this old cigar box. And for the neck, you're going to need a length of broom handle like this. I've pre-cut this. I've done a lot of the cutting and drilling already because I've got neighbours working shifts and I didn't want to make a lot of noise while they're sleeping. So basically just take a broom handle. I find about 30 inches in total is a really good length. So I've cut this much off the end. Just chop that off and you've got the neck already. That'll take you about 5 minutes, I would say. So obviously the pole needs to go through the centre of the box. Now what I've done is I've drilled 2 large holes right in the middle there. I'm sure many of us know the easiest way to do that is to mark an X right across from corner to corner and just drill through the middle point. As you can see, that's fairly straight. And I've used one of these which is known as a spade bit. Now these aren't bad. If you're into woodworking, I would say probably a router or like a fork and a bit, or even better like a small hole cutter would be best for these. The spade bit's pretty good, but they are a bit fierce. As you can see, they kind of scuff the box a little bit on the way in, so do be very wary of splinters when you're doing this sort of thing because it is quite old dry wood. Anyway, yeah, you don't have to use one of these. Now, if you don't have one of these, you can quite simply take the end of your pole and draw a circle there. Then just take a small drill bit, that's about 1/8 of an inch, and do a series of little holes inside the circle. So you've got like a perforation there. Just knock that out or take it out carefully with a craft knife. Maybe sand it a little bit inside, being very careful with your fingers. And it's just as good, and actually it doesn't tend to rip the box apart so much, so that's a very good way of doing it. But for ease and everything today, anyway, I've pre-drilled it using this 25mm, which is about 1 inch spade bit. Now these tend to be a little bit under 1 inch around or across, about 7/8, so there is a bit of a gap, which is why, just to support it, I've wrapped it with some paper masking tape. So as you can see, when we slot that inside, that just butts up in there, stops everything moving around. Eventually you'll glue that in place anyway, and yeah, that'll be tidy. So there's your basics. Now in this end we need something to accept the guitar string. And I found the best way to do that, and a lot of people would say, is to use the end of a rivet basically. If you've got rivets knocking around, you can see I've already started to loosen this one. But the best way to get the pin out the middle, I've found really, is just to take a pair of pliers. You hold it in place, put it on the edge of your bench. You don't want to be floating about mid-air with that because you'll hurt yourself. And then just one sharp tap loosens the pin. Sometimes you've got to wiggle it a little bit. And there you go, you've got a little grommet. I've actually done 2 of them here. And if you place them, you can glue them in place. But really, if you just sort of like rest it in there, you can see, hopefully, that's in place. Flip it over, put the other one in the top, says me, dropping it all over the floor. Put the other one in the top. And there you have it. And that'll stop your guitar string pulling through, or whatever you're going to use for a string. That's great. Next thing you're going to want to do is create a nut for the top of the instrument. And for that I found by far the best thing to use is simply a hose clip. If you can see, it's the sort of thing you use obviously to clip a hose, also known as a Jubilee clip. Just place that over the top, tighten it up a little bit so you can sort of manoeuvre it. And obviously the screwy part makes the nut for the instrument absolutely ideal. So you've got it laid out on your bench, and it's starting to look a little bit Diddley Bowish already, really. And there it is. Now one thing I did think would be quite nice for this would actually be to amplify it a little bit. It's not necessary at all, but if you want it a bit louder and a bit more reverb, it's quite good to fit a spring inside the body. And I'll show you how we do that now. Right, so basically take your neck and insert it into the body of the instrument, into your guitar. Now you see you've got that facing up and the nut's facing upwards where you're going to have it at the end. You hold it like that and turn it away from yourself about 90 degrees. You can see, but I've made a couple of little holes in there. The easiest way to do that is to take a bradawl or a pin punch and a hammer or a mallet and just give it tap, tap, just slightly longer than the spring we're going to use. Now this is a spring out of something that was spring loaded. I can't remember what. It's just a spring that I had knocking around. You absolutely don't need to fit one, but if you've got something like that knocking about, I think it's a nice little touch. I've got these very inexpensive cup hooks from Amazon. They're literally a couple of quid, a couple of dollars for like a whole bag. So they'll keep you going. You just screw those into the holes. They can be a bit tight, so watch your fingers. There's one. Fit the next one. And screw them in so they're kind of facing away from each other. I often find is the best way. You can adjust them a bit if you need to. And then you've got these two little hooks inside the neck. Then if you take the spring and just sort of hook it on, you want a little bit of tension but not too much. So about there is good. You see you can ping it a bit. It's not going to move, it's not going anywhere. And then simply put it up again and there you go. You have your resonator in place. Flip her over and there's your instrument. It's starting to look a little bit more Diddley Bow shaped. So really now it's time just to fit the string. I timed this when I was building one recently and it'd take you about 15-20 minutes. Really not a long job this. So yeah, lay it back out on your bench and then take your little grommets that you made from the rivet. And I've got this spare guitar string here. I've not used it before. I think this is a B. B sounds really nice on one of these actually. It's got quite a gentle sound. So take that. First of all you want to take this rivet here, have it that way, so the flat end's at the bottom. Do excuse me. And just slide it onto the string. Pull the string up through the wooden pole, through the hole that you drilled. And as you can see, that'll just rest in place. You can glue that in if you want. Epoxy resin's quite good if you use that. If not, a little bit of super glue do the job. Anything like that really. I wouldn't use wood glue because it doesn't tend to work, but just some pretty standard glue. Take the other little grommet that you made and slot that with a flat bit at the top into the other side of the hole. And there you go. When you lay it out, as you can see, it's in at the back. You can like manoeuvre that a little bit. It's in at the front, and that'll stop it from pulling through. Obviously when you do this yourself, you can tape both ends of the pole, or you can use a slightly smaller bit and file it out, or obviously if you're doing lots of little holes you can make it the perfect size and you won't have to worry about all that. But we can trim all this at the end, and I will continue with this to show you how to do other things like fitting electrics, tuning pegs and all that. But today we're going with a good old-fashioned back in the day style, and we're nearly there. Right, so next up you want to make sure that the string goes on fairly taut. Doesn't have to be amazing at this stage. And just simply take a screw. Same way I used the centre punch, I used the bradawl just to punch a hole in there, as you can see. And you want to take it, don't worry about this at the moment, just like take it all the way up the neck to where, over the bridge bit, over the nut, sorry. And add your screw. Okay, using a power driver. It's a little bit noisy, so if you've got sensitive ears, turn the sound down or defend your ears. And just take it down, but not all the way. So take it down to about there. You see you've got your string still fairly loose. What we're going to do then is basically you want to wrap it a couple of times around that screw there. So just once, twice, fairly tight. Sometimes it's difficult to get it that tight, in which case it's good just to get a pair of pliers. Quickly in the end. And just put it fairly tight. That's it. Put it fairly tight and wrap around a couple of 3 times. I should do it. And you wrap it around the screw. You can actually have it off the thing at the moment, so a bit lower than the nut, that'll give us a bit more tension. You see it's wrapped around there. Again, power driver. Mind your ears. And as you screw that down, it goes a certain way to actually tension in that string. That's a little bit tight, so we'll just loosen it off. That's better. And you can see now that that's actually stretched over the nut. And it's making a bit of a noise already, see? Not a very nice noise, but it's already making a sound, right? Now you're going to want at least one sound hole, I would say, otherwise it will sound a bit thin. So again, what I did here was I actually used a spade bit. This one's a 12mm, which is like roughly 1/2 inch. And I drilled that hole because I'm going to add this little grommet. What it is, it's an eyelet from a tarpaulin. You can buy these in the hardware store or on the market. They're for like repairing tarpaulins or flags or whatever. But that just pops in there. And it's quite a nice little addition. Looks quite fancy. Makes it look a bit more pretty. And we're well on our way now to the to having ourselves a nice little diddly bow. Right, so all that really remains now for this one is to add a bridge. And I've found, there's several ways you can do that really. I think the best way to do that is just use a fairly large nut and bolt. I don't know what size that is, it was just something I had knocking around. If you take that, go from here, get it roughly in the middle, and just slide it to about there. If you push it further back, you get a higher note. If you bring it down more, you get a lower note. And that's the very simple way of tuning the instrument really. Already she's sounding quite happy, isn't she? Eh? So there you go. I mean really for the most basic build that's it. And already you have yourself a beautiful 1-string diddly bow. You're a rock star. And how long did that take you? About 20 minutes. So as you can see, she's never before been played. And generally I play with the slider. Let's see how she sounds. A little bit thin there, but there you go, you get the idea. So there's your diddly bow. Now I do think it's best to get yourself a slide if you're going to play these a lot, but there's plenty of other things you can use. Here we have a socket, a rather large socket. I think that's 14mm. I used to use this on the bike pedals. It's quite heavy to put on your finger, but you can use that. And make sure it's a good loose fit. You don't want any trips or accident and emergency, do you? Alternatively, spice jar. 2 fingers. And there you go, your very own 1-string diddly bow. Hope you enjoyed it, I certainly did. It's nice to build something like this again. Sometimes I get a bit too sophisticated, and when things get like that, it's always best to go back to your diddly bow. I hope you enjoyed this. If you made it to the end, as always, thank you very much. Thank you to all my subscribers, and thank you to my new subscribers, and thank you to everyone who requested this video on basically how to build your own diddly bow. We will continue with this one. I'll show you how to fit tuning pegs, electrics, and how to basically bolster the box a bit, to make it a bit stronger over the next couple of videos. But until then, happy building. Yeah, so until next time, stay blessed. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you soon.